Welcome to Math Foundations for Healthcare, Lecture 2, Intro to Fractions. So, during this lecture, we're going to cover 4 different topics. The first thing we're going to cover is we're going to define what a fraction is. We're going to talk about numerators and denominators and how they relate. We're going to... Okay, so here we have a fraction. It is 2 numbers separated by this line. Okay, but let's start by defining what the different parts of this fraction mean. Let's start with this top number here. This top number is called a numerator. Okay, now think about that word for a moment, numerator. If you were to know nothing about fractions or anything, and you were to meet someone on the street and you ask them what their job is, and they say, "Hey, I'm a numerator," what would you think that they did? Well, a numerator numerates, right? That's how language works. So a numerator numerates. What does that mean? So it counts the number of things. And I'm just going to leave things as in scare quotes there because I've got to define that next. So if we look at the bottom number, this is the denominator. Okay, and once again, like with the numerator, if you were to meet a denominator on the street, you would know, hey, this person must denominate things. And if you look up what that means it names things. So the denominator names the things that the numerator was counting. So what this is saying here is 3/5, as we would say in the language, but what that means is that there are 3 of something, and those somethings are fifths. Now, what is a fifth? Well, a fifth is if you have, say, an object that represents, this is 1 whole right here, then a fifth would be just, well, part of the object, such that if you took 5 of them, you would have the whole of the object, right? That's what a fifth is. Okay, so there we go. That gives us 3/5 would be, of course, 3 of those, and that gives us an idea of how fractions work. So if instead I wanted, say, 3/10, then instead I would take the object, whatever it was, and instead of dividing it into 5 pieces like I had before, I could subdivide each of those and now just shade in 3 of them, right? That's 3/10, for example. So there's another fraction for you, right? So that's how the numerator and the denominator work. There's one other part of a fraction, and it's this thing here. This line is technically called the vinculum. The vinculum, which is a word that you are never going to need to know, but now you know it. Congratulations. So we have the vinculum, but more commonly it's just going to be called the fraction line, or sometimes the fraction bar. Okay, and what you can think of when you see this line is it is equivalent to this symbol. In fact, the division symbol is really just a fraction it's just a symbol of a fraction. In ancient times, before we had variables, sometimes they would just use dots to represent, oh, we're going to put a number here and a number here. So that is how the division symbol was created. The fraction symbol was first, the fraction bar, and the division symbol is just, hey, you take two numbers and you put one on top and one below a fraction bar, and that's division. So that's another way to think of fractions, is they're just division statements, right? So this is saying, another way of thinking of it is this is 3 divided by 5. Right? Now, what is 3 divided by 5? Well, it's 3/5. You don't need to do any more thinking. We have the answer written down already. Just as 3/10 can be written down as 3/10. You know, sometimes, yeah, we could write these out in decimal notation, but we haven't taught decimal notation yet. That's in the coming lectures. So let's just focus on fractions with whole numbers for the moment, okay? Great. So that is what a fraction is. So, we can now check that off. Just a moment. Okay, so here we are, and we can check off what is a fraction. Well, we know about numerators and denominators, and we know that fractions are just division statements where we're taking the numerator and dividing by the denominator, and we know, say, that 3 divided by 5 is 3/5. Okay, excellent. Now, on to talking about prime factors and common multiples. So we're going to take a step away from fractions for a moment to talk about whole numbers again, just so that we can then go back into fractions and apply the ideas of prime factors and common multiples. Here we go.